Hello and welcome to episode 72 of Kaiju Curry House, the fortnightly show that gives you a healthy dose of kaiju goodness every other Monday. I'm Paul Williams, joined by my regular co-hosts Alex and Joe, and we are joined by our wonderful guest Connor Baxter, who has been making some fantastic models, and officially he is a 3D artist, and well, he's here to tell us about one of his favorite films, The Mysterians, tell us all about the 3D modeling, and we want to know also, Connor, what have Kaiju been up to?
Recently, not a lot, but I can recall what happened a few weeks ago. I received two 4K releases, both something to do with a giant lizard and a giant monkey fighting each other, right?
Yeah.
So the first 4K release that I got was Godzilla vs. Kong, and everyone's talking about that. But the release that I was most excited about to get was the King Kong versus Godzilla 4K, which came straight from Japan. And it's a fantastic box set. You know, it's like it comes in almost like a VHS sort of size like box, and it just comes with basically it's probably the best the film has ever looked, especially if you've seen the Criterion set. You know, that version's not particularly great. But the only downside is there's no English subtitles. So if you don't understand Japanese, tough luck, I guess. But other than that, it's probably the best the film has ever looked, and is a great collector's piece to get.
Okay. So are you a fan of the 4K releases when they make them?
Oh, yeah. Usually, if they're done well, you know, usually it's a good 4K release. But then again, occasionally you do get duds, I guess. You know, like you've got Terminator 2 in 4K, where they basically they added digital noise removal, which is where they removed all the film grain to make it look almost like a modern film. But as a result, you got Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he looks like he's made of plastic. So.
Funny you should mention that, because I was thinking about when it went from DVD to Blu-ray, and I'm sure Terminator 2 was one of the films that didn't really look any different.
No. It's as far as I'm aware, they used the 3D cut from like a 3D version of Terminator 2. So if you're expecting the extended version that's been in other releases, you're not going to get that. So, yeah.
Fair enough. Right. And now you get to answer the question to one of us.
Well, Joe's been quiet this whole time, so Joe, what have Kaiju been up to?
Loads. I found out about a movie called Super Deep. For anybody who hasn't heard about this film, basically it's Chernobyl-esque in nature, but of course there's monsters, which the Joe likes. While back, this is based kind of in real life. There was a Russian project where they were drilling a super deep hole, and a lot of iffy things happened. And I'm sure that none of that is internet rumor or gossip, you know. But what a lot of people took from it is they basically dug down so deep that they reached hell. And a lot of scientists recorded hearing voices coming up from this hole that they made. And it was kind of spooky. So Shudder, which is a horror streaming platform, came out with a movie called Super Deep. Super Deep is creepy. It's kind of Mantango-esque.
Like Mantango.
Yeah, it's Mantango-esque. It's got a little bit of Aliens thrown in. It's got a little bit of The Thing 2 thrown in, the prequel one. But well, in terms of the fact that there's a female protagonist who's sent in as a scientific expert, blah, 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 blah. But however good the premise might be, the execution, I don't feel is quite there. It was fun. It was a horror movie. But this thing is kind of like mildly contagious and you don't want to touch you. And somehow the female protagonist ends up in her skivvies by the end of the film to defeat this thing.
Yeah.
So it was just one of those ones where I just couldn't quite give it thumbs up. Just kind of had to keep that tucked away. But watch that. I have not actually purchased Godzilla versus Kong yet.
Nor have I.
It was one of those things where I wanted to just get it in the wild and purchase it there. And I saw a DVD copy, but I can't just buy the DVD of that film. No,
Of course not.
I'm a snob. I must have the highest resolution. So let that one go. At the time of this recording, Godzilla Singular Point has been released on Netflix worldwide. So watched an episode of that with the lovely Dawn. Her verdict is still out.
It's too early to say, though, isn't it?
Pardon?
It's too early to say after the first episode, isn't it?
Yeah, you need to get the first up because it escalates, and what it ends up being doesn't make sense until really the end. Like if you watch the beginning after you've seen the end, you'll realize how finely crafted this cartoon is because there are so many plot points that emerge even before the actual story is told. It was really interesting to watch that. And then also, since I have just come back from Connor's homeland, Scotland, I decided to pop in Journey of the Center of the Earth, and that was fantastic. Seeing Gertrude the duck and some lizards with some fins glued to their backs and stuff. It was really interesting, but it was fun because I can point out exactly where certain landmarks were in Edinburgh that are in that film, and I really enjoyed it. So that was great. It was the original Hollow Earth tale for all those listening as well. And I really will, that will come up later in our If Nothing Else, because it's a great movie and I really enjoyed it and it's great fun. But yeah, so Paul, what have Kaiju been up to?
Well, I have got Godzilla
Oh,
versus Kong, and I have
Oh,
gone
look at
for
that
the
flex. Look at that flex.
4K Ultra HD version. And then,
Steelbook.
yeah, Steelbook, of course.
Oh, okay.
Of course, spared no expense. Yeah. And then while I watch it, I've got a Godzilla versus Kong t-shirt. It's the one with Godzilla's face one side and Kong's face on the other.
It was Father's Day after all, so
it was Father's Day, so I had to get some sort of Godzilla merch, didn't I? Because that's what the kids like to get me. On top of that, E3 happened, which is the games, blowout. There's a video on our YouTube channel, but I think a highlight for me was the latest game in the Dark Pictures anthology, which is kind of like an interactive movie. You can play it alone or you can play it with friends, and you kind of choose how the story goes, and that's set in Iraq about a group of soldiers who get stuck like in a tomb with a creature hunting them down. So it sounds very much like Alien. So I'm looking forward to that. And on Disney Plus, I watched a film called Luca, which is a coming-of-age story about a sea monster. And it is absolutely fantastic.
I'm here for that.
Because effectively, it was like Saturday morning, my wife was staying in bed, the kids are watching nonsense on YouTube, and I just said, no, we're going to put on something other than just streamers because I can't stand this anymore. And I said, let's see what's on Disney Plus. Let's go for a nice film. I thought, it's got some creatures in it. I'll put up with that. It's a Disney film. Even if it's bad, it's going to be decent.
Yeah.
And my son ended up playing Roblox on the laptop. But as the film progressed, he kept looking up, and then eventually laptop was shut and he was cuddled up next to me laughing and pointing. He loved it.
Great.
And so it's a fantastic story because the sea monster, he can go on land and turn human, but if he gets wet, he turns back. So he's now trying to integrate with humans and learn all about them, but if it rains, he's a bit stuffed. But it's great fun. Kids loved it. I loved it. Highly recommend. And that's Luca on Disney Plus. I think that's about it. So, Alex, what have Kaiju been up to?
Well, a couple of things. You've reminded me, Paul. On Disney Plus, I was introduced through my family to Raya and the Last Dragon. Have I said that right?
Yes, that's a new one. I haven't seen it yet.
That's relatively new. That was one of those you purchase it before you kind of get. It wasn't just open on Disney Plus. You had to purchase it, and it was really bloody good. It was, I thought, a very sincere film. It was age appropriate for my kids with enough kind of intensity, that they were kind of like, ooh, sort of shocked at the right moments. The fact that it has multiple strong leading female characters with no thread of romance in it. They go out there, they're badass, and they're warriors, and it's like, yep. Tell you what it reminded me of, Joe. It kind of gave me that sort of Pan-Asian kind of Avatar: The Last Airbender vibe. It was very clear that they were kind of going for this is going to be all Asian, sort of lots and lots of different parts. There was sort of Filipino kind of influences with these stepped gardens. There was definitely lots of kind of traditional Chinese martial arts thrown in there. But then there was also kind of South Asian aspects to it, kind of like the west coast of India with or South Vietnam with river tribes. So it was rich geography in it. So I love that for myself. And yeah, Raya and the Last Dragon, and it has a dragon in, which that did help.
It's not a traditional Chinese dragon either. They took a what do you want to call it? Indo-Pacific version of what a dragon is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's a different dragon to what you're typically associating with Eastern culture, which was nice to see. Like they did that.
It was not a Chinese dragon. No, it most definitely. So that was wonderful. It's been Father's Day, and I have been delighted with wonderful gifts. And kind of because my birthday at the time of this recording, my birthday and Father's Day virtually fall on the same kind of week. A lot of kind of the gifts were thrown in at the same time. So I've got a couple of things to show you. And starting off, I'm going to kind of go, from the bottom and work up, because...
what do you mean the bottom? What do you mean the bottom? What are we putting at the bottom here, Alex?
I received a poster.
Oh. Back with you.
The poster was from...
I'm going to drink my water in disgust.
The poster that I received, Connor, was from a film called The Legend of Dinosaurs and Monster Birds.
Have
you seen it?
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
Don't. It's
glorious.
I've never been able to watch the entire film.
That's your loss.
Mess of a film. Paul, how is it?
It's fantastic. I don't know what you're about.
And there are no dinosaurs or monster birds in it.
Japanese country singers on a lake get eaten by a plesiosaur.
And
what is not to love? Crater Lake Monster wasn't even that bold.
Jazz playing in the background when people are having sincere conversation.
Oh, the music is the best part.
The music editing is just awful. But anyway, I received, Connor, in the post for my birthday a full movie poster size. So that was nice. Thank you for that, Joe. And when I asked, did any one of you fine gents send me that? A very coy Joe did which I appreciate. I got some lovely art cards from Paul. I'm not going to go through them all, but just it was nice for a change. And I do believe alongside that, from one of my good friends, I got some fantastic books I want to show you. I got Lovecraft Country.
Oh, I heard that's really good.
Yeah. And then I got a classic Lovecraft book. I got the At the Mountains of Madness, based on a true story. I got the Saga of King Hrolf Kraki, possibly pronouncing that about as badly as I ever do. Yeah. But I got some... Are you proud of me, Joe? I'm reading.
I am proud of you. This is very good.
Yeah.
I didn't get a book for Father's Day.
You didn't?
No,
I got this book, which I'm particularly excited about. This book, it's from the point of view of Grendel.
Wow, this is cool.
Yeah.
I want to read this. There's actually a really good, I think it's called Beowulf and Grendel, but it's actually like a Scandinavian film where you get it like with Grendel's motivation, where the reason that he is attacking the Norsemen is because they just maliciously killed his father, who was just being a nice guy with Grendel. Like they just killed him because he was different. And that's what set Grendel on a bad path to like go after these guys. And then when Beowulf kills Grendel, he feels bad about it because like he finds out what was going on. Like he was this like little orphan kid that grew up into be like, Arnold Schwarzenegger. and he just goes after these guys that killed his dad. I'll have to find it, but it was
please do. And
really wonderful
part Grendel. Paul, thank you. As ever, Paul always sends the best birthday cards. Paul has a long tradition of that, so I've got
What is yokai?
It is definitely yokai. So thank you very much for sending me that. That was very sweet of you. And then my pride and joy, a lovely person got me a book, Mythical Beasts, and it's from the Folio Society, I believe they're called. And what they do basically, Folio Society, check them out. They release like uber high quality versions of classic books, a variety of different genres, like huge range of genres, but within them, not just being a great quality book. I mean, obviously it's bound beautifully, but it's the fact that, let's get some illustrations. The illustrations are exquisite. Like they really are. Yeah. So the art that accompanies these Folio Society books is just wonderful. So I'm really excited about looking forward to reading that. It's nice. I don't get enough books, and it's nice to get into the habit of that.
Legends of the Dinosaurs and Monster Birds. There's an accompanying movie tie-in novel. I can get you that.
Is there really?
Yeah. I don't know. I was just looking. I was looking to see the terror on his face.
Yeah. Can you get me this sticker annual as well? 2021. That'd be good. Yeah.
There's a set of commemorative stamps that went with that film too.
There was, yeah. For the 60th anniversary of it, there was, yeah. Connor, please tell us about your business. So we've all been commissioning various 3D pieces from you over the past year and a bit. So tell us about your business.
Okay, so my name's Connor Baxter, of course, as I've already been introduced. And I am a freelance 3D artist, right, who likes to sculpt monsters and such, and essentially I create the models, and then I create 3D prints of them, right, into like model kits, right, and what happens is people ask me to make things for them, and they either have a choice of a model kit that they can build themselves, or I can build it for them, pretty much. And I've been doing it for at least maybe 5 years now, at least. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's only. How did I get to that?
Yeah.
Really just perseverance, really, because it's just a case of just constantly just posting stuff online, originally I used to do models based off of video game characters, right? You have to bear in mind there's also like hundreds of people online that also create sculpts of like video game characters, right? So I was doing on and off gigs and such, doing freelance work, creating models for game characters. Then I started creating monster models because I'm a big fan of like Godzilla and all that, right? Mm-hmm. And which all of a sudden, like just lightning strikes, and all of a sudden I started getting more commissions, pretty much, because the way that I do things is I like to make models of things that don't exist, right? A lot of the time. So one of my most popular pieces is the graboid that I did, right? And there is little to no graboid stuff currently, as far as I'm aware. Same with like Gorgo, or even some of like the Godzilla designs, even, like I recently did a bust of the how Godzilla looks in Ghidorah the Feared Monster.
Yeah.
Like there's very little like even like X plus. I think they only did like 1X plus of that design, and they haven't done anything else.
Well, just a thought. We're about to take our first break, but when we return, gentlemen, if we could possibly bring to the table any examples of Connor's work, because it'd be wonderful to show that in our video if we could do that. We'll take our first break now. Thank you. Welcome back, loved ones. This is Kaiju Curry House, and we've been chatting to Connor Baxter, who is a 3D modeling artist. And we've actually brought to the table a couple of pieces. Connor, you were talking about how popular the graboids are from Tremors. Paul, a long time ago, we got you. There it is. Now,
Yes, you did. Yes, you both kindly got me this
there
lovely.
it is.
I'm
So
glad it survived.
it survived the journey, yeah. Connor,
Yeah.
how long does it take typically to do a 3D print of that size? Looking at that, because how tall is that, Paul? Is that about 40 centimeters?
Probably about 25.
Oh, it's shorter than I thought it'd be.
25, 30, I'd say.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't have a ruler to hand, unfortunately.
roughly around the 30 centimeter mark.
Let's go 30.
It's kind of cheating because of the beak, really, or the actual.
Because they stick out, don't they? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So how long does it take to print?
So I think it depends on the size of the model. Like, so my graboid, for example, I recently upgraded my printer, so it's not an issue like now. But with my older printer, which I printed that on, that just the head alone would take about maybe like 3 days to print. Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
What, continuously printing?
Yeah, like continuously printing. Yeah. Now my printer does have a function where you can actually switch it off, during the night. So in case there's a fire, you don't want stuff like that. But genuinely, like a graboid like that might take like either like 2 weeks to make, at least entirely. Depends how long that. Depends on the size of it. Depends on the amount of materials that you're using, so on and so forth.
Because you digitally sculpt these, you can shrink. Can you shrink them down and print smaller versions?
Yeah. So when I'm constructing models, right, the graboid was designed to be a 30 centimeter figure, right? Right. If I was to shrink the graboid down, right, I would have to design it so it actually fit that scale. So like certain details, like the teeth inside the snake heads would have to be like maybe a bit thicker, just so that when I'm taking up the printer, like it doesn't snap or like that. But yeah, I can shrink any model down to be any size if I wanted to. There'll just be problems with the scaling, or there'll be issues that'd be fixed with post-processing.
Okay. So how did you reference Tremors? Did you just pause the film and make it in 3D? How does that work?
So when I'm looking at reference images for like creating models, I'll either do one or two things. I'll either load up the film and pause sections of the film where the graboid appears. If I'm lucky enough, I'll look online and try and find behind the scenes photographs where you'll have a pretty good view on what the graboid or whatever creature looks like behind the scenes. Because the thing with filmmaking is you never really see like the monsters in full for the most part, like in these films. Like they're usually obscured by like sand or like explosions, etc. So I usually either look at high quality images from the film itself or behind the scenes pictures.
And why do you think that Tremors, or specifically the graboids, have been a popular line for you?
The graboids, I think, there's almost little to no graboid stuff, right? And I think it's also due to nostalgia as well. Like Tremors is a classic monster movie as well. There's that. The same goes with like Gorgo as well, like the Gorgo that I sculpted. Again, that's a cult film, and again, there's very little Gorgo merchandise or like anything Gorgo related. I think the closest thing collectible Gorgo wise has been a couple of like sort of vinyl figures from Japan, or like an obscure model kit from like the early 2000s, but that's about it.
You got a Gorgo, didn't you, Joe?
Yes, I did. It's one of my prizes. It is currently on a rotation with the rest of my models, though. I try and keep things fluid in here so that I don't.
Nice.
But yeah, it's a really good one. That's another 30 centimeter kit, and it was really easy and lovely to put together, I have to say. I mean, in terms of being able to paint it, and just with a little bit of dry brushing, it just came out beautifully. You do a really good job with creating the details, and it also just, the way that you're sculpting these, it also makes it really easy to paint them without necessarily having a lot of talent behind you. You can make it look really good. So, I mean, it was really fantastic in that sense, like all the stuff.
I'll be picking your brains, Joe, because I just recently commissioned Connor to build for me the Godzilla Tower from, is it Children's Land? The name of the theme park in Godzilla versus Gigan.
Who knows?
That sounds it's something like that, yeah.
It's something which doesn't sound great.
No.
It's like the peace conference building.
Yeah.
Children's Land or Monster Land, I think. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, but Godzilla vs. Gigan, aka Godzilla on Monster Island, despite the fact he's only on Monster Island for 30 seconds of the film.
The shocking film.
Or also Godzilla versus the stop motion. Sorry, not the stock footage, as we call it.
It's got Corn Guy in it, though. That's the amazing bit.
Yes, it does have the character who eats a corn on the cob and then uses it.
Hold someone up with it, yeah.
Anyway, I commissioned Connor to build for me the tower from that, because I think it's an iconic piece, and X Plus have never done that. So, thank you, Connor. Now, when we were chatting before, Connor, we were throwing around ideas for an episode, and you mentioned about one of your favorite Toho films being The Mysterians. Now, I have not seen it. I know very little about it, other than there's a very famous mecha in it, isn't there? Is Mogira in it?
It is the first appearance of, or at least a variation of Mogira, because they later reinterpreted the character in
for Godzilla versus Space Godzilla. Yeah. So, tell us, what's Mysterians all about?
Okay, so the Mysterians was made in 1957, so it was the follow-up to Rodan, pretty much. Well, it's not a sequel to Rodan, but it's the film after Rodan, right? And it's also the first color Toho film to feature Toho scope. So if you've ever seen that Toho scope logo, that's the film where it originated from. It's directed by Ishiro Honda, produced by Tomiyuki Tanaka, and all that. The lads are back pretty much. It's actually got a large 3/4 of the original Gojira cast. So you have Akiko Hirata as a scientist character. You got Takashi Shimura, again, is another scientist.
And pesky scientists.
Yeah. And you've got Momoko Kochi, who was Emiko in the Gojira, which is one of the few other films that she's in, because I think after the success of Gojira, she just pretty much just went quiet up until Godzilla vs. Destroyer. And we also have Kenji Sahara, who's just fresh off of Rodan. Now, you might have noticed I haven't mentioned the characters' names because, unfortunately, it is one of those few Toho films where I wouldn't say the characters are that important in this film, at least, compared to other Toho films, because they are pretty stock. There's like 3 scientist characters and, so on and so forth. It's basically, the way that I could describe the Mysterians is it's the closest Toho has ever gotten to doing a big Hollywood budget film, or trying to capture the likes of the big Hollywood budgeted film.
What's the general plot of it, like as a general sort of description?
Okay, so what happens is there's a bunch of mysterious things happening around Japan, like in this small area, right, of Japan, where trees all of a sudden are burning up from the roots, and you've got sinkholes and landslides just basically come out of nowhere.
Those darn yokai, right, Alex?
Yeah, those pesky yokai. Yeah.
There's a sudden spike in radiation. All the fish are dying and all that, and It has Kenji Sahara's character, who's playing a scientist, basically investigating it, and it all culminates where there's basically a rock slide in a mountain, and here we have Mogra making his first appearance in like the first like 20 minutes of the film. So he's early, pretty much. Now Mogera is probably one of my favorite kaiju designs, or at least mecha designs. Just because I think compared to other sort of robot designs at the time, Mogera has a very practical design to him. He's supposed to be like a robotic mole, pretty much, right? So he's got like the claws that they use for digging. He's got a big buzz saw for like digging. He's also got the drill on the front, and he's also very threatening as well in the film, because he doesn't roar. He doesn't make like a roaring sound unlike other like mecha kaiju per se. It's just this like sort of like beeping sound that beeps over and over and over, and it's actually quite terrifying actually, because it's like he doesn't even move that fast. He's literally just walking and destroying everything in sight. There is a very good shot that in the film, which has Momoko Kochi's character. Basically, she's in one of these like Japanese bathhouses, and she peers out the window, and you just see Mogra. There's no music. Mogra just slowly just moving in the background, and it's like quite a terrifying shot. And the funny part about this scene is they send the army to actually deal with Mogra, right? And a lot of it is like, I wonder if it's basically like actual GSDF training, pretty much, So like there's one moment where they try to stop Mogra with flamethrowers, which is funny. It's just like it just doesn't do anything. But and after that, Mogra gets flanked by a bridge, and that's Mogra in the first 10 minutes or 20 minutes. But after that, of course, we learn that it's actually been aliens the whole time, right? And we find that the aliens are actually terraforming the small area of Earth, because their planet, which is called Mysteroid, has been completely destroyed, right, from nuclear war. And basically, all they're asking the humans is basically a spot of land and Earth's women to repopulate to their civilization, because radiation has basically left them disfigured pretty much, right? So basically, it's
I mean,
not sure
radiation tends to like leave you
sterile.
a
tad.
Yeah. Let's put it this way.
These are aliens, so maybe it doesn't.
Are they just? Do they just want to meet some Earth babes? Could that just be their whole motivation?
Well, they actually provide photos of which women they want. They're quite specific.
Yeah,
They don't.
They do.
What?
So they turn up, and they're terraforming Earth, and basically saying, "Give us a plot of land, and we want these women specifically."
So basically, like they pick out like a gentleman's magazine. It's like, this tasteful piece of literature has members of your species which we would find compatible. Like, is that?
But it's not quite like that. No, I mean it's not. I mean,
I haven't seen, ladies and gentlemen who are listening to this podcast, I have not seen this film, in my mind, that's where it went.
No, they've done some recon. They've taken some pictures of women at a local village.
That's even creepier.
They're not pervy pictures. They're just pictures taken.
When they want,
it's definitely one of those films better seen and explained.
Maybe we should say that.
Like, I was thinking about
these are like really creepy aliens.
No, stop talking for a second. I'm just thinking about parallels to other films that I love. You mentioned at the start of the film that like there's all these mysterious things happening, and that there are sinkholes forming, and there's a mecha in this film. Now, there is a wonderful film called Godzilla vs. Megalon that starts with sinkhole.
There is.
And it's got a mecha in called Jet Jaguar, who is, well, he's our boy. Now, who would win between Mogira and Jet Jaguar? Connor, go.
Jet Jaguar, because Mogira is defeated by a bridge exploding. So,
okay, fair.
Yeah.
Who would win between Mogira in the Mysterians and Mogira in Godzilla versus Space Godzilla?
Mogira and Space Godzilla, because it's a different size altogether.
And you're not playing, you're just giving me serious answers. You're not being silly.
Yeah, pretty much. Mogira is like, like he's the selling point in the movie, but he's only in the movie.
He's right here in the poster. It's like, this is it. There's Mogira here.
Yeah.
And as you say, and there's the build up of something's happening, and he comes out, and they shoot at him, nothing happens. They use flamethrowers, nothing happens, and then bang, bomb the bridge, and it's like, oh, okay, so that's the traditional Toho movie that we're used to. That's the creature feature god, and now they're going to try and do some sci-fi storytelling.
I mean,
very much.
It's a common trope to kind of utilize something fantastic and still have it killed quickly. I mean, Samuel L. Jackson's the selling point of Deep Blue Sea, and he's killed off like that, at the very start of it.
That is very true. Yeah.
Maybe Mogira is Samuel L. Jackson.
Maybe that's it.
So how does this film kind of size up 63 years on? I mean, you've watched it a couple of times recently, Connor. I mean, is it a tired old Toho film, or is it a gem that's worth our time?
I'd say it's worth your time, I guess. It's basically the main star of this is Eiji Tsuburaya's special effects, right? Or his special effect team's special effects, right? Because, like I said, I think before the podcast, it's basically the closest Toho's got to an actual Hollywood film, pretty much. And
it's that grand kind of sci-fi-esque. I mean, looking at the background that Paul's got here, it kind of gives off, as you say, that sort of late 50s, early 60s kind of classic sci-fi romp, doesn't it? It looks great. It looks very grand. Yeah,
it's definitely what they're going for.
Very good. Okay, well, we will take our second break and then we will return momentarily. Thank you very much.
Welcome back to episode 72. We're here with Connor Baxter, 3D sculptor extraordinaire, and we're talking about the Mysterians, in which a group of aliens non-consensually come to Earth and ask to come hang out with our girls. What's going on?
Now, there was a film in the 80s. It goes by the name of Humanoids from the Deep.
Oh, my Lord.
Do you remember that, Connor?
That movie and I have a history.
Do you remember that, Jen?
I saw it last year on Netflix, and that was
and I'm just
something.
thinking of
That's right.
Parallels, because my parallel between Godzilla vs. Megalon and Mysterians didn't land, despite the fact that they both have sinkholes in, they both have mecha. However, Mysterians and Humanoids from the Deep basically is centered around these things appearing and wanting women.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's like Humanoids from the Deep. There's definitely nothing as bad as that.
I'm just being.
Have you seen the trailer for Humanoids from the Deep?
I have seen the trailer.
It's one thing to watch that movie, but in the trailer they were so stuck up that there's this one brief flash of a woman's bare bosom that they showed that exact same piece of footage twice.
Show the footage
in the
twice,
same
just in case you weren't
trailer.
Sure
It's just like
that's the audience.
It was like teenagers.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you're gonna get your PG-13 rating out of this one.
PG-13. Just for the trailer, I suppose so. But good heavens, I mean, it's TNA and violence.
You know what's actually that is actually the best part of the movie. That one brief snippet, because you see the thing is that whole scene with the bare-chested woman takes place because a ventriloquist is seducing her with his ventriloquist talents and his wooden puppet. And you cannot make this up, because this guy took her on like a romantic. No. He took her on a romantic picnic on the beach at sunset after the bonfire's dying down. They go into their tent, and what is his first inclination to do? Let's take out the ventriloquy dummy, which I just happened to bring along. That's not creepy at all.
You know, as crap as that film is, that scene just made that a 10 out of 10. I'm just me.
I mean, that's the thing. Actually, I will say this for Humanoids of the Deep. The special effects, the costumes for the fishmen, the frogmen, whatever you want to call them, they are very resilient. They're used in water. They're good latex work. They're relatively good, like, operational costumes. So I will say that all in all, the special effects in that movie are pretty good. The whole plot, the characters, the dialogue, just everything was just ridiculous.
But under the genre of fishmen, frogmen, I feel that you should far sooner watch The Shape of Water or Creature from the Black Lagoon as far more wholesome experiences of kind of kaiju-esque. Like on kind of a hierarchy, Humanoids from the Deep would be lower down.
Okay. I still want to see it though.
You want to see?
Oh, Paul, you're in for a treat.
I've got the 80s version.
You
90s
know
version is it? I've got the later one.
The 90s version
90s
is
one,
terrible. It's actually it's worse.
Oh, and the other one was good.
Yeah, the other one.
No, the older one is actually better because if you actually throw a plot at this movie, it falls apart completely. At least if you go in for a schlocky experience and you know it, you're willing to like lower your expectations enough to where you might enjoy it. This movie, again, Humanoids from the Deep, I highly recommend being a few lemonades down before you start watching it.
Okay.
Ideally, you're with a group of people that are ready to have a laugh because they do everything wrong in that movie. Let's split up. Let's go swimming. Again, Legend of the Dinosaurs and Monster Birds. Let's have a fair over the water. It's just all these ridiculous ideas.
So, Connor, going back to the Mysterians, can we? I feel like we need to bring this back, despite the fact that it was derailed us. Can we expect to see your own rendition of Mogira?
I thought about it because here's the thing about Mogira is before they considered making a mecha, they did think about actually making a kaiju, and that you can actually find the original concept art online. For Mogira as an actual kaiju, and I believe they did recycle this design for something like one of the creatures in Ultraman. Yeah,
it's usually Ultraman recycle stuff for, isn't it?
Yes, but maybe I don't know. Like Mogira would definitely be fun to work on. I'll just say that.
Excellent. Well, I think that it's time for us to round off this episode, gents, if you're quite happy for that. We have quite a few recommendations going around anyway, so why don't we take a little bit of time to go through them? Paul, if nothing else.
If nothing else, we should firstly say Godzilla Singular Point. Again, it's on Netflix, so give that a go.
13 episodes?
Yeah.
Roughly 20 to 30 minutes each?
Yep.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, nice length. I watched episode 1, the Japanese version, so it'll be interesting to see the English, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to enjoy it with the dub rather than watching a sub.
Can I just interject 1 second? When you're watching Singular Point, if you're a Japanese language aficionado and you like subtitles, this is me saying that the English dub dialogue is what you would get if you would watch the original Japanese version with Japanese subtitles. For some reason, the dialogue is simplified greatly when you're watching the English dub for Western Netflix. I don't know why that decision was made, but if you listen to the English dub, the voice acting may or may not fit your version of the character, but at least you get the full dialogue. So if you're looking to watch Japanese or hear the Japanese voice actors, like me, you like that, you like to hear the original cast, but you don't know Japanese, so you watch it with dubs. The dub will not give you the full dialogue. So I heartily recommend that you watch it with the English dub. You'll get more information and more of the plot that way.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So on UK Netflix, the UK dub, sorry, the subtitles, they say are complete.
The subtitles are like they've been
Okay.
simplified. They've been watered down.
Right. Okay.
So if you listen to the English verbal dialogue dub, I mean, like you'll get the full dialogue. You'll get the
Right,
full meat
okay.
of the conversation. But for myself, I wouldn't have immediately gone there
No.
because I
No.
was watching it with my partner. We put on the English dub and I was looking at the subtitles because I watched the original Japanese release with the English subtitles. And I just saw that misdirection. I was, wait a second. This character says a lot more and there's a lot more information in the Japanese version. Why has that been taken away from Western audiences? So, but it hasn't. It's just in our dub because I guess they assumed that not many of us would be looking at the subtitles.
That's a strange choice, but okay. I mean, I might. Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you for that extra information, Joe, because I would have gone for the sub and, I would have brushed away the dub and potentially missed out. So thank you. Yeah. Keep going, Paul, if nothing else.
Well, and speaking of Netflix, I did notice that Tremors is on there.
Yeah, it is.
Which one?
So yeah,
37?
the original Tremors.
Oh, okay,
That's okay.
The Kevin Bacon one.
Sorry, it's the one with Kevin Bacon. Yes, yes, the original.
Yeah, good.
That's it for me.
Connor, if nothing else, is there anything that you'd like to recommend?
I suppose this would be a good time to shamelessly plug myself, I guess.
Please do.
Shamelessly plug away, sir. You're an
Go
artist.
for it.
Yeah.
You plug in there.
So if you like 3D models, if you like 3D prints, and you want a private commission, then you check my Twitter out at Invader_Design, or visit my website at www.invaderdesign.co.uk. There you go.
Well, thank you very much for that. And any personal recommendations for kaiju media that you love?
Yeah, go watch the Mysterians. Basically, it's better to see the film than actually have us explain it to you, because I don't think we did a good job there.
Oh, wow. I'm taking full blame for that because I derailed it.
No, it's okay.
It's probably like a really tasteful film. That
Oh
shows
yeah,
like
and
shows a lot of like the promise and the directing chops and the artistic direction. But no, we went to Spaceman One.
You focused on the wrong bit there, Joe.
Yeah,
we could have talked about the anti-nuclear message and all that, but
no.
All I heard was like, "Where's the consent?" That's all I heard.
Joe, if nothing else.
I have a couple recommendations. So earlier on in this episode, I talked about a Beowulf movie. It is Beowulf and Grendel. That is what it's called. It's from 2005. You can look it up. There's a whole bunch of stuff on it. It's readily available. So if you want to see that, I give it a recommend. It's not heavy on special effects, but the practical effects, the makeup, it's subtle, but it's there. It's really lovely. And there's a lot of nuances to the acting, the dialogue, and the story. So give that a watch. The second thing that I'm going to go ahead and recommend is something I recently got for the little tykes in our house.
Oh.
There is an Usborne Book of Monsters.
Marvelous.
And you can find these on Amazon, eBay, whatnot. The Usborne Book of Monsters tragically has not been reprinted in a little while. However, you can go on Amazon and find the ghost one and the UFO one for like £6. They're lovely paperbacks, and my kids are loving them. And they're reading stuff. And one of the really wonderful things about it is at the back of the book, there's a further reading section and a glossary with pictures that explains all the terms and whatnot. So they're great for like that 8 to maybe 13-year-old range where they want to read something serious, they want to pique their interest, and they want to find other places where it's going. Third recommendation from Joe tonight, you guys are getting a treat. Watch Journey to the Center of the Earth. It's actually on Disney Plus as well, and it's great. It's got James Mason in it, and he's very Scottish, and it's got lovely old school Edinburgh in it. It's the original Hollow Earth story. It's fantastic. It has a lot of great character development. It has a lot of twists and turns. There's a duck, which is a main character, and it's fantastic. It's just good old school wholesome fun, albeit a bit dated because the main scientist does give a rather harsh opinion about bringing a woman to the center of the earth, but she holds her chops and she ends up being a very valuable member of the team, and she holds the team in many places. So she turns that viewpoint around. So it is good from that respect. But those are my 3 recommendations for tonight.
Well, if nothing else, my 3 recommendations are, given that I kept bringing in humanoids from the deep, I feel that I need to recommend a film that has Doug McClure, who is the lead actor of Humanoids from the Deep, but in a film that's far better, far nicer, and dare I say it, far kinder, because it doesn't have loads of kind of
Fish babies popping out of people.
It doesn't have fish babies popping out of people.
They don't pop out of the places you expect either.
Correct. My recommendation is Warlords of Atlantis.
Oh, the great throwback.
Yeah, good 70s sort of American monster movie. Actually, fairly decent budget, quite gritty and grainy.
Kaiju Delos.
Yeah, absolutely. But you're not going to give anyone nightmares with it. And yeah, it does have little armadillos in, which are amazing, climbing up buildings and attacking people. So Warlords from Atlantis. I feel that I need to recommend on the Nintendo Switch Pokemon Snap, which might sound like a slightly peculiar recommendation, but one of my kind of gateway drugs into the world of monsters was Pokemon cards as a kid, and the positive reviews that Pokemon Snap has been getting, the fact that it's a video game that doesn't focus on any fighting or aggression. It's a game that encourages, children of all ages to, draw out those Pokemon with various techniques and really focus on the quality of the picture. I think that's quite cool. And yeah, the reviews of Pokemon Snap have been fantastic, and my daughter's very excited to get that. So at some point I'm going to buy it for the Switch. And then to round off, I do have to recommend the book that I was gifted, which I'm going to get now. Because I'm so proud of this. This is Mythical Beasts, and I'm going to get the author now. 1 second. Mythical Beasts by John Cherry, and this came from the Folio Society, who, as I mentioned before, check out the Folio Society. They do exquisite copies of books, hardbound with wonderful illustrations. So, Connor, thank you so much for coming on our podcast. I do hope that we haven't scared you off and that you do come back on again. Please, listeners, do check out Invader Design. I'd sure speak for the 3 of us that the commissions that we've had from Connor have been fantastic.
They have. I heartily recommend Connor in every way, shape, and form. He was a pleasure to do business with, and the models that he sends are great, and his work is fantastic if you want him to build it for you as well. So it's a win-win-win.
I am opting for Connor to build the Godzilla Tower because I don't have a lot of spare time in my hands, and I feel like Connor has been far too polite during this episode rather than singing himself praise. The quality of the product has been brilliant and very reasonably priced. Joe, would you like to end the episode for us?
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode 72 of Kaiju Curry House, and we have talked Mysterians and 3D models with Connor Baxter, Paul Williams, and Alex Wainwright. Thank you so much for listening, and as always, keep it Kaiju.
And also, Joe, fun fact, 1972, that's the same year as Godzilla versus Gigan. Thank you, you're welcome, I love you.
Wow. Well brought up, Alex. Yeah. Another shocking film that you've managed to link into our podcast. Good job.
I keep mentioning good films.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Legend of the Dinosaurs and Monster Birds. Which you have not finished.
Are you okay?
No, you've got to finish it.
You have to finish that film.
I will.
It ends on a cliffhanger, Alex.
You know what?
My
Maybe
gosh.
Christina and I could watch The Legend of Dinosaurs and Monster Birds. And
Perfect film for you too.
No, don't put her through that. We like her. You end your relationship with her.